Hi, my name is Kenny T. On my moment of the week this week, we've come back to Mauritius. Me and my crew are here to check out the southern coast of the island, right? So right now, we're at a place called Valley Adventure Park. There's a lot of activities. I've seen quad bikes, I've seen beach buggies and all of that. So we're going to check out what this place is all about. We'll go to the ocean, lots to do. So join me on this adventure again. Let's go. Wow, it's busy.
Yeah, so just taking a drive, still on that adventure. I'm on this big beach buggy, and then we're going up and down the hills. Just saw a waterfall. I don't know what lies ahead, so all of us are following each other, and we're heading out there. Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Yatu Tea. Remember, Yatu Tea is available in all leading supermarkets across the country. Abalea Carpooling. You must download that app because it's an easy and very convenient way to travel, but also it's very affordable. We'd like to thank MTN everywhere you go. Remember, MTN is giving away prizes every 20 seconds. Right now, as I speak, somebody is winning something. Remember, MTN has the promotion called MTN at 20. Thank you, Zambia promotion. So in that, all you have to do is dial *117# or *115# to buy bundles and minutes, and you need to pay via Momo, MTN mobile money. Right. Our guest today is Jay Rox, and we're here to speak to him about his journey, who he is, and so forth. I remember knowing about Jay Rox the days of Zone Farm. And then after that, I was like, okay, this guy's got something different. Jay Rox, welcome to the Kenny T One-on-One podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for making time. You're a busy man.
I mean, we are trying to survive in the city, You find yourself doing quite a lot, but we're good. I needed to come through. Like, I've seen the so many episodes.
Yeah.
And there's good content.
Thank
you
you.
have some really good content. So when I was communicated to say this is what's happening, I was like, I need to make sure I pull up.
100%.
So it's good to be here.
We appreciate. Inkondo, you're working on that project. How is it going?
Yeah. So I'm producing Inkondo with a fellow producer, Mwape, and it's been amazing. We're actually in the last days of production. It's been quite an experience. We had to bring in both teams, Upfront and Oram, to come together to produce the show itself. It's been an amazing experience. I think we are really pushing. There's room to really push the boundaries, but it's been great.
Jay, we will speak about Inkondo later on during this chat that we're having. But for now, I know that you're born or you grew up in Chuchnya?
Yeah, I'm a Chuchnya guy. So anyone that grew up in Avondale and Charleston, I mean, we call Charleston Chuchnya. And there's a specific lingo for people that grew up in that space. I grew up in Charleston. Spent most of my young days between Charleston and Avondale.
Okay.
So grew up in Charleston and then spent some years in Vilawanga, then went back to Charleston. Then after Charleston, went to Avondale. So it's always been like between the two until I was a man and I was like, I need to move away from this space,
Yeah.
And now in a different location.
So the language, Ijayako Avondale, Yakuchumplex. Da.
Hey,
It's the same. It's the same one in Charleston as well.
yes.
I've always related that one to.
No. It's that one is shared between Chuchnya and Juvundeo. You know what I mean? Between the two places.
I think about a month ago, I made a stop at the complex. I remember when growing up, you guys were calling it Pachumplex.
Yeah. Pachumplex.
I stopped there, and it's still there, and the guys that are still living in Avondale are still.
I mean, they still go there. There's a lot of people who grew up, people we spent like our childhood with that still go to those places. It's unfortunate that some of them, their lives have really gone to the left.
Yeah,
but it's always nice to go there and see like old faces. It's a whole different place as compared to the way it used to be back in the day. Before. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but yeah.
So where did you go to school?
So I started my education at Ndaveni.
As who? Not as Jay Rox.
No, as Jackson Ngambi Banda. You know what I mean? So
are those your names?
Yes, those are the official government names. Okay. They're out there. Yeah. So I went to Ndaveni. Yeah. From Ndaveni, I went to Charleston. 1 to 7, I was at Charleston Basic at the time. Then I went to Monali. Then I went to Kablonga Boys. Yeah. So.
In this space, did you play any basketball at all?
Yes. So I played basketball. Lots of basketball actually at some point. But it was in between basketball and football. So in the neighborhood, we played football a lot. But at school, I did play lots of basketball.
Yeah, because the height.
Yes.
I would have been very, very surprised and disappointed if you didn't play.
No, I did play, but I was a bit more passionate about football, even though, basketball at some point. I actually did quite a lot. I was a jack of so many trades, you know what I mean? Growing up, I did quite a lot of activities, but there was a bit of basketball there too.
Great stuff. Now, what kind of a family do you come from? How many siblings do you have?
Yeah, so I've got, I used to have 3 siblings. The older one passed away.
Sorry to hear.
So I was the only boy in a family of the three women. The 2 are my young siblings. Then the older one passed. So we grew up. My dad was around, for a short period of time. And then he passed away, and we were raised by a single mother.
Single mom.
So being raised by a single mom meant that you had to be responsible at a certain age. And my sister passed away at a point where I was still young, so I had to be like, get into that responsible space, because when you've got an older sister, there's always that thing like, okay, there are some things that you're saying, but you're older, so you get it done.
Yeah.
So after she was no more, I had to now get into that space. And also just being the boy, my mother had to do quite a lot. Like she used to work for the Air Force as an officer.
Oh, she was an officer in the Air Force?
Yeah, she was. And also, she was a nurse. So at the time, after my dad passed away, she had to do a reset, where everything had to start from scratch. So that's when we moved from Vilawanga to Charleston. So when we moved to Charleston, it's like we moved into a house that didn't have anything. So it was just her and this empty house and 4 kids, So she had to do 2 jobs at some point to make sure that things work. She had to also study to advance her education, So at some point, she had to live us in my uncle's house, where we spent quite a good amount of time. So just to advance and to make sure that she provides a quality life for us. So that's the type of background I'm coming from.
Great. So when you lived with your uncle for how long?
I don't remember the duration, but I do remember that my mother, when I was young, my mother, actually when I was born, the year I was born is the year my mother went for the training. So she left me with in the Air Force for the Air Force training.
Yeah.
So she left me with my uncle. So meaning that was like my second home in a way.
Yeah.
So when she came back, we moved now, and we started staying in Vilawanga. Then after that, we moved to Charleston. she started to rebuild. And I remember she went to study pediatrics in TZ for a certain period of time. And we stayed there. We stayed in my uncle's house for a couple of years. You know, then when she came back, we moved in with her again, you know?
So it sounds to me like you started becoming a responsible young boy at a very young age.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like fully responsible because, you know, I was also very unruly at some point, you know? There was a lot of playing, you know. I did have my fair share of playing as a child. I mean, I grew up. My cousins are my brothers because we grew up in the same house, so we did the same naughty things that boys did. You know, when you're young, you know.
Naughty things like what?
I mean, I think I remember there's a time. I think at some point, Deadly Prey was like the movie that was big, you know. And I remember my uncle bought, you know, VHS, you know, and we had like a cassette with that movie. So I remember this one time we watched the movie for the first time, and our neighbors, you know, in Charleston where we grew up near the Nkoloma Stadium, you know, those houses.
Yeah.
So that there was no proper demarcation. So now our neighbors had bananas, you know. They had like a corner section with bananas, and we saw that in the movie. You know, there was a lot of action scenes that were going on within that. The banana, I think a scene that had like bananas and stuff. So I remember making pendelo guns and really damaging those bananas.
Those bananas.
So when the neighbor came through, she made a lot of noise. I mean, we did get our fair share of the discipline.
Yeah, because a long time ago they didn't play.
And also, you know, because Nkoloma Stadium was just next door, so we'd climb the fence. I don't know why we never used to use the entrance. But you know, we used to climb the fence.
Maybe they'll charge for you guys to go in.
I think at the time it wasn't even an issue of charging because I mean, when Red Arrows took charge of it, like there was a bit more structure.
Yeah.
But because it was also some sort of shortcut, you know, because the house is here and then the fence is here. So, you know, as a kid, it's like, hey, we're going to climb.
Yeah.
And that was very dangerous when you look at it now. Because I remember driving past Nkoloma Stadium the other day and I looked at the fence. I'm like, yo, this was dangerous business, but we'll climb and go and play football inside the stadium, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's
great. I also know that you, at some point in your life, I'm sure it's still going on, but there's a time that you went to church quite a lot and you're involved in church.
Yes, my mother was very involved in the church. So I grew up in a very Christian home, you know. And the crazy thing is that, you know, when you grow up in a Christian home, it's like you're always on this mission to try and see life outside. You know what I mean? So it was Bible study, like you know, there's like a proper setup. Like you have to wake up, you have to pray, you need to read the Bible. And also when you go, I think one of the things that was a little bit of a difficult thing for me in my young days is that because my mother was involved in the church. And, you know, our parents were the type of parents that if I'm involved in the church, like everyone is involved, you know? So if she's going for a church commitment, like you're there. You know, you need to be there, especially weekends. So Friday, she'll go to church. Saturday, she'll make sure we're involved. And the church services were long back in the day because I remember we'll get ready for church at 6. We're up, like making sure everything is proper. And you go to church, the church service is starting at 9 and you're knocking off at 15 because mom has to be part of the first service and the second service.
So which church was this?
That was Living Waters.
Okay. I remember when I was young, my dad would take me to church. Like, we'll go in the morning and leave after 2 o'clock. I didn't like those hours.
Yeah, I mean, because now it's like, but then the good part in the long run, when the music parts, you know, started to get ignited, we discovered that we could actually do the music stuff within the church. So now instead of waiting for when we're going back home, it's like, oh, we could use this time to just try and see how we can, you know, grow this thing, you know, make it into something. So until that point, before that point, it was just like, and I want to go home.
Yeah.
Because I've already done like a lot of Bible study on Tuesday. I did Bible study on Thursday. There was a cell meeting on Friday. There's youth service on Saturday. and there's a church service on Sunday. So, you know, I'm just like, yo, at what point do I get to move and do all these things? But when you now look at the experience, I really look at it and say it was a much needed thing, because that foundation is a foundation that I'm also looking at now and looking at it and saying, oh, I think the kids also need to have a very good foundation when it comes to that space, because most of those teachings, you only get to understand them when you grow up and you're like, oh, this meant this. This meant this. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the time you were going to church, before you got involved on the musical side, were you singing before?
Not really. Not really. I think I was more interested in dancing. It started with the dancing, and we used to watch a lot of Kobe Clubhouse at the time. I think TBN had just opened, and it was like the thing, because cassette was there, but we couldn't afford cassette, you know?
Yeah.
So we had access to TBN. We watched cassette next door at my friend's house, but then even that is just like, then there was that opening, like a 1 hour opening, where it's like they would let you watch for free.
Yeah.
And then if you're lucky, they forget to switch off. And then you have to watch for the, you know, you have to make sure you consume as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I think during that time, I was more focused on just consuming the music. But then the musical side itself was something that was there even before the church days, because in my uncle's house, my uncle had like almost every reggae album that you can think of, and he had a very nice stereo at the time. You know, the stereos that had like decks.
Yeah. Did he have tapes or vinyls?
He had tapes.
Okay.
So he had tapes, you know. So he would play reggae music like most of the week. The only thing that used to change was the volume, you know. So when we get to the weekend, it's like the volume is a bit high. Sunday it reduces.
Yeah.
So we listened to a lot of reggae music, you know, in his household. And that part for me was like, yo, reggae music was just like something that was like super close to me. Also considering the fact that it was something that I kept on listening to, and I enjoyed listening to it.
Which artist was his favorite? Would you remember?
I mean, there was Peter Tosh. Peter Tosh would play. There was Gregory Isaacs used to play. I mean, Bob Marley was also. I mean, like if you listen to reggae, there's no way you're not listening to Bob Marley. You know?
Yeah.
So, but he did have a very good collection of reggae music.
So from there, you wanted to be a reggae artist?
Not really. So I listened to the music. It was just a part of me, like just from a consumer standpoint. Then when now I started doing music, the weirdest thing is that I started doing music not wanting to be a reggae artist, because then the influence now was, when the music came into the picture, my cousin, my late older cousin, he found a way, like he found a Tupac cassette that he would play when my uncle is not home. And you know, Tupac was uncensored back in the day. You know, so it's like he would get me in the rooms, like, listen to this guy, you know, and he would play me some Tupac, and I'm like, yo, like if they catch us listening to this, like it's problems, but it's just like, yo, we'll listen to it, you know.
Because the music was good.
Yeah, so I did listen to Tupac, but then when we started doing music now, my other cousin is the one that really moved me closer to music, because for him it's something that he was passionate about.
Okay, but how did this happen, Jay? I want to follow it step by step.
So what happened was,
what was the trigger?
We used to stay in the same house. So my cousin would write music, you know?
Okay.
So he would sit there and is trying to put rhymes together. And at the time, I'm just like, this is Chinese to me. Like, I do not understand. So I'll be there, and then he'll be rapping to me. You know, it's like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'm just listening. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And then he went and formed a group in the church, you know, him and his friends. And at the time, because he was 2 years older than me. So I was just following. I was like one of those, like, since we're going to the same church, I'm just going to be there. So they created this group called Righteous Rappers. And I was just there in the background. I'm like, these guys are cool, you know? Then they had like this one performance at a youth concert that we had at church. And they performed, and it was so cool, and people were making noise, you know? It was like such a good performance that I remember they were wearing like the same denim pants, and they had like white t-shirts. They had like bandanas. were those bandanas
costume
at the
was on
time, but
point.
the costume was nicely coordinated, and I was just there in the crowd, and I'm like, yo, I want to be part of these guys. So that's when I now went to my cousin. I'm like, yo, I do not understand anything about this music thing, but like, hook me up. Like, you can write for me, and then me, I'll just rap, and then talk to your boys to try and add me to the group. His name is Reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the gospel artists. So he now started writing for me. Then I remember my first experience in the studio was terrible. So after he wrote the lyrics for me, we went to the studio now to record for the first time. And it was bad. I remember Blessington. I don't know if you know Blessington Mulenga. He's the one that recorded us, and it was like a family friend. You know, we used to go to the same church.
Is it Bless, the one with the studio?
Yes, Bless.
Okay.
I went to
Great
Bless's
guy.
studio because we grew up with Bless, and then it's like a very good friend of mine. So we recorded in Bless's bedroom. He had a studio. I think at the time it's like church equipment. And you know, Bless used to play the keyboard. So he set up at home. You know, so we started recording. We recorded those ghost-written lyrics. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, Bless just came to me and told me, Jay, this is not working, because now I have to slice every word to make sure that it fits on the instrumental. And that was very disappointing, but I was like, yeah, do what you got to do, you know, let's see what's going to happen. And that's when the interest now came to say, I need to make sure that I fit within the instrumental. So then I advanced the conversations now with my cousin. So how do you do this? Like, where's your mind at when you're doing this? How can I make this about me? Because at the time he was writing as him, but I was voicing it as Jay. Mm. So now I started having conversations with him to say, I want to talk about this. So how can you help me put it together within a song? So that's when the inspiration, you know, ignited.
Nice. This is a Kenny T one-on-one podcast brought to you by Yatu T, Abalea Carpooling, MTN, everywhere you go as well. Remember, with MTN, there's 1 million kwacha up for grabs, and this 1 million kwacha will be split between 2 winners. So each winner walks away with 500,000 kwacha. So you need to participate. You need to enter now by dialing *117#. Right. So now, Jay, let's speak about, I know that you did some computer studies. Can we speak about that before we get back to the musical side of things?
Yes, I did. I mean, qualifications that I don't use today. I always go back to the conversations of my mom. Uh-huh. And how she, you know, the many times she tell me, say, you need to focus, you need to get this done, you know, because life out there is this. You make sure you get your qualifications done. And now I look at my qualifications every now and then when I go into, you know, where I keep them, and I'm like, yo, like I wish we had just gone the other way, but you can't know. So I studied computer system engineering, and then I went and I did computer networking, Cisco at UNZA.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So did you ever get into employment?
Yes.
Using those qualifications?
Yes, I did. So when I got done with my Cisco, actually when I was doing Cisco, I was working for SEAL Zambia at the time. I was an IT technician. The guy that used to go to the locations to make sure the cabling is nicely done, make sure the router is properly set up. I remember at the time, you know, I was doing music, and, you know, during my school days, I had gained some sort of reputation. There was a bit of popularity that came with the whole dancing and all of the music stuff, a bit of it at the time. It wasn't like commercial. And when I started doing the Cisco, when I started working at SEAL, one of the first assignment they gave us was to go to, I think that was Cavendish, and they wanted us to go and set up, there was an issue. That was one of their clients, and there was an issue with the cabling. So we had to go into the roof, you know, and at the time you're like a cool guy, but then your job requires you to really get in the roof and come. You know, when you get in the roof, when you come out, you're not the same guy.
No, of course
you
not.
know, but then that's when I was like, yo, this work thing, it's crazy, but you need to do what you need to do. So I was working at SEAL. At the time, I was getting done with my computer networking at UNZA. Yeah. Then when I got done with my computer networking, I worked for another company where I worked for 8 months. And it was that work experience that really put me in a place where I had to make a decision to either continue with my my career as an IT technician, or just, you know, pursue the music, because my boss at the time was like a mean, like very firm man, you know what I mean? Like he will make an example of you in the presence of clients. Like he wants to really, you know? So it was like one of those where it's like you're learning and you're looking at it like now looking at it from a space where I'm running my business, you kind of see that, okay, there's certain things that were not really the way I looked at them because you gauge the experiences. But I think even when I was doing the work itself, it was more to try and help finance the music itself. So when you get paid, you're just thinking, what are we doing with Zone Fam? You get your pay and you put it there. And the good part is that at the time I was working, my late brother had given me a 7th quarter. So I wasn't paying rent. So everything I was making is just like, guys, what are we doing? So as Zone Fam, we sit down, get in a room and say, we need to do this. So when I get paid, I'm just like, let's go.
Okay. So I'll take you back a little bit. So after at what point did you guys get together with Zone Fam?
Yeah.
And who introduced you?
Yeah, so Dope, Sam Sakala now, Dope and I went to the same school. So we used to work Kablonga boys. And I met Dope through the rap battles. I think before that, there was a situation that had happened. I think I had a girlfriend at the time. And my girlfriend was, she knew Dope. So I remember I went to see my girlfriend and she was talking about this guy, Dope. You know, this guy, Sam, he does music and it's like a Kablonga. So I'm like, who's this same Sam guy that you are over, you know, over talking about? You know, you know, so I'm like, I don't think I'm comfortable with this, but let's see. Then I remember we started doing rap battles at Kablonga Boys.
Yeah.
And after my first battle, the second battle actually was with Sam. So now I got to meet this Dope G guy that I heard about, and I'm like, now we're in a rap battle, so I need to use, because I was a little bit uncomfortable at the time with the way everything sounded.
Yeah, I know.
So we had a rap battle, me and Dope, at Kablonga, and I don't know if anyone won that. I don't think anyone won, but it was like a very intense one. And after the battle, I had a conversation with him, you know, just trying to catch up, like, yo, so what's the story? And it so happened that Dope, we shared the same story, you know, raised by a single parent, grew up in the same neighborhood.
Wow.
And at the time, he was also in Avondale, because I was in Avondale, just the other road.
The odds,
you know what I mean? So it was just like, hey, like, let's link.
It was easy to connect.
Yeah, so after we got done with school, actually, we moved, we started staying very close to each other after we got done with our grade 12. And now it was just like, hey, this guy is, because it felt like a mirror of your story. You know, so we started interacting, and then we recorded my first studio session, professional studio session. We went together to that studio, and Dope at the time was recording with Slam Dunk Records. And I recorded my first mixtape as Jay Rox with another friend of mine. So this friend of mine had a computer. The setup was crazy. So we had a computer and the, you know, headphones that come with like a mic. So our mic was connected to the headphones.
Yeah, just Skype.
Yeah. Mapaalo. So first mixtape, I go to this friend of mine who I was also, you know, in the same class with, like Kablonga. I tell him, like, Jerry, man, I think I need to record my first project. And I think what also pushed me to do my first project is because Dope at the time was working with Slam Dunk. So I was like, oh, let me try and see if I can also record my stuff and try and see where I'm at with this music thing. So I recorded my first mixtape with Jerry Cash. It was recorded in a week. He told me to say, I can only give you a week. And in this week, you need to write and do everything. We recorded that mixtape. We didn't have any money to do any artworks. And at the time, Jerry Cash was like very good with his arm. He was, you know, he used to sketch things. So I told him, say, bra, you're going to sketch the artwork. Then we're going to print it.
Yeah.
So we recorded, and I think we printed out 20 CDs of my first mixtape. And then now we sat down, we're like, got 20 CDs. We need to get in the neighborhood now and sell these CDs. But how much do you think we're going to sell these CDs for? And Jerry Cash was like, no, I think we could try and push it for 50 kwacha at the time. I'm like, 50? I think people can buy this for 50 because they don't even know,
Yeah.
you know, what's in here. He was like, let's try. So we went onto the streets and tried to sell. People didn't buy. They were just like, we can't buy because we don't know how good this thing is. So we ended up giving most of those CDs for free to try and market. Then I started working on my second project. But then the time I used to link up with Dope and he would play me the music he was doing at Slam Dunk Records, the quality was very different, you know? So
Difference,
I said, yeah, the difference
as in good?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
They had like a better setup than the setup that we had. So this one time, Dope asked me to say, can you come to the studio where I record Slam Dunk Records? I'm like, yo, dude, like I've been waiting for this. So we went to the studio and I met Duncan, the hoster, for the first time.
I know the hoster.
And I looked at the hoster and I'm like, the hoster, when before the hoster speaks, he just looks like this guy.
Yeah.
Like you don't even know if you can take your nonsense there or
no.
And at the time, it's like you don't even know if you're good. You don't know if it's going to work. So I looked at Duncan, and I think when we were going to the studio, I told Dope, I was like, I'm going to try and talk to Duncan. And he was like, yeah, talk to Duncan, man. I don't think it can be an issue. Then we get there, and I look at Duncan, I'm like, I got, cold feet, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So we left. And I couldn't tell Duncan, so I want to start recording at your studio because it just felt like it's not the type of guy you could have that conversation with. Then I dropped my second mixtape. Then after my second mixtape, I was just like, I need to get this done. So I went to have a conversation with the hoster's partner at the time, Kati the Pope, who was the producer. So I spoke to Kati and I was like, Kati, I want to start recording here, man. And Kati spoke to Duncan and Duncan was like, yeah, that's fine. Jay can come and record here. So that was the beginning of Zone Fam. So when I started recording there, I remember we did some songs. So there was Alkanai, there was Dope G, there was the hoster at the time. And then I also joined the record label and Kati the Pope. So now what used to happen is that when we record music, the four of us, the hoster used to say Slam Dunk Records, the Zone family, The Zone family. Every time we get on a song together, like the Zone family, Then the Zone thing, it just started like that. The Zone family, like, hey, Zone fam. Then, we started recording. Then Young Verbal came through. His father was sent here for some work. And we met Young Verbal. I think Young Verbal and the hoster met before we met him. And Young Verbal started spending a lot of time with the hoster. So every time we go and see the hoster in Olympia, Young Verbal will be there. And then Young Verbal found himself as a part of. So now the last member to join was Thaga at the time, who's Tim now. So with Tim was part of 2-1, and he came through and he wanted to join. But at the time we're like, but you're from this side, so how do we just incorporate you into what we're doing? So I think we gave him a little bit of a tough time, before he joined. But he joined, and we were the 6 of us at the time, because the hoster also was an active member that used to rap, and Alkanai was also a part of. So we started recording songs, the 6 of us. I remember even when we went for Big Brother, it was the 6 of us in the early days until Alkanai and the hoster decided to just say, okay, you guys can really carry the group forward.
But what was the vision for the group?
Yeah,
like, okay, so you got together, you met up at the studio, but so what were you attempting to achieve, or what were you planning to achieve?
Yeah, so the initial plan around the group was individual guys that have individual careers that they are going to pursue, right? But every now and then they'll form Voltron to get into the room and do something big together. So it wasn't like a group from scratch where it's like it's a group and everything has to be like that. And for those people that followed Zone Fam from inception, they'll be able to attest that even when we're doing Zone Fam projects, we had solo mixtapes that we were still dropping at the time. It so happened that the Zone Fam work became so big, and it just felt like, oh, it's easier when we get in the room, the 4 of us, and get the work done. Because then now when we put like our joint efforts into something like joint effort, it really, the impact is bigger. But even when we're Zone Fam, we had like solo careers that we're trying to really set up and pursue,
So then Zone Fam now hit it big.
Yeah.
A couple of guys said, Mwasa Pisha. Pisha Zone Fam. I mean, look, I wasn't big in terms of paying attention to Zambian music at the time, but when Zonfam came on, all of us knew about it. Who are these guys? And you guys were cool. You looked good together. You created a type of music that was a bit unique in its own way.
Yeah.
And you guys were happening. So when was your first break as Zonfam?
I think the first one before the break was, I remember the first paycheck that we ever got.
Yeah.
So we, someone from Hollywood City at the time got in touch with us and said, we want you guys
Road.
Yes, we want you guys to perform at Hollywood.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think that was 2009. We had dropped Mabotela. And they were like, yo, how much are you charging? And that was before, the currency was rebased and everything. So the figures was like, we got into a room. Now it's like, oh, this music thing that we've been trying to push for, now it's showing that it's going to pay. So I remember we charged, if I'm not mistaken, we had charged them 800,000 at the time. You think about these figures now.
Yeah.
And we went and performed. And we got there and we gave the performance. And after the performance, we got paid. And I think that was the first time we really looked at it and said, yo, like this thing can be something.
Yeah.
So after that, now we started building. And the first break was after Chikali really did what it needed to do. So Chikali was initially my song that I had recorded for one of my mixtapes. So I recorded Chikali, I called Dope G, came to the studio, he recorded a verse on it. And then after that, I think we did another version, which was the Zonfam version. Then we did the remix now with Peterson, Ozzy, and Zaga, and Slabdi. After Chikali blew up, that's when everything just went crazy. Like all the pieces just started to fall in place and things took off.
So what kind of, did you guys do a lot of tours out of town? Out of the country?
Yes, we did.
Speak about that a little bit.
We did. We traveled a lot in Lusaka in the early days. I think when Zonfam blew up, we were so lucky. The first year we really blew up because there was Mabodela and then there was Shaka Zulu on them that dropped. That really positioned us like, oh, these guys could shoot a video this good. I think Kenny Rock shot that video.
Kenny Rock is really good.
Yeah, that song was playing on MTV and Channel O at the time. And then
it wasn't easy at the time
no,
to get a Zambian song play.
No, it wasn't.
Like that.
It wasn't. So, that just put us in a place where it's like, this thing can work. Then we started now getting gigs outside of Lusaka. I think we had gigs every weekend. We were traveling every weekend, doing shows. And, starting to see the business side of the music industry.
Hosta became the manager of the
Yes,
of the
Hosta
group.
became the manager. So Hosta is the one that was at the center. Guys, this is what we're doing. Then we got called for Big Brother to go and perform.
That was big.
In SA. That was like the big one. That's when like the biggest doors started opening. So we went to SA, we performed on Big Brother. Just as, young boys from Chuchnya, that had the dream and pushed it. We performed on Big Brother. We got paid a decent amount of money for that performance. The treatment.
I will not ask how much.
Yeah, no, it was in dollars. It was in dollars. Very good amount of money.
Yeah.
Everything sorted. When these guys take you out, they really take care of you.
Yeah.
We did that performance. When we came back, Channel O nomination, went for the Channel O Awards. Taurus Music contract came through. And now we were just traveling. We were in and out of the country and things really opened up.
Okay, so I wanted to speak about a lot of things that the fans will not see or that they might not be aware of.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you guys are growing big, things are happening and so forth. There's also a bit of a push and pull within the group. Do you have instances where, this one is not speaking to this one is not talking to this one?
Not really. I don't think as Zonfam, we never had like those issues. We were so close as friends that we used to do everything together. You know what I mean? It's like when you move, those people that used to see us at arcades, we used to be at arcades almost every day. You know what I mean? With bags and
Doing
CDs. Giving people CDs.
Oh, right.
Yes, that was the hustle. When rappers say, I'm on the corner, That was the corner for real. You know, before arcades was the arcades.
Yeah, the
you know,
arcades
we
now.
would be out there by the pond with bags, each person with a target of CDs that you need to give people and to give people. We spent a lot of time together that most of the things that we felt like, okay, this thing needs to be addressed, they will be handled just there and then. Like, oh, this is, hey, bruh, this feels like this, and we'll get it done. I think we're very much in sync in terms of what we wanted to achieve. For the most part of, you know, the time as a group.
Yeah. It's not easy though.
Yeah,
it's not easy. I mean, you guys found a formula, which
we did,
which many have never found.
Yeah, I think you know, as people, like you have like small little things like, oh, we need to get this done. Maybe someone is on the phone, you know, but those are not big issues that will put you in a place where it feels like things are not getting done. You know, when we say we're going to get something done, we were really in there to make sure it gets done, you know?
What caused the breakup?
I can't really say it's a breakup, right? A lot of people look at it like that because at the end of the day, it's almost like you run the office. Like as a musician, you run the office. It's your office. But there's people out there that feel like you need to tell them what's going on with your office. And those are the fans, right?
Yeah.
So to the fans, those that never understood the whole concept around how we structured Zone Fam, they'll have like a lot of these conversations, say what happened or what was the breakup. I think it wasn't a breakup. It was more of a conversation on, guys, is this really making sense right now? And looking at how much we've invested into this thing, can we try and see how we can do things individually until it makes sense, you know?
What stopped making sense?
So I'll tell you one thing, right?
Yeah.
So the Zone Fam that people have in their minds is the Zone Fam Chikali, Zone Fam, all those big shows and everything that used to happen. But if I tell you to say, at the time, Zone Fam, when we decided to say, you know, we need to take some steps backwards, we had done what for me should have been the biggest song in the country. Looking at the features, Pato Ranking was big at the time. We had Pato Ranking on the song.
It's a big name still.
We had Ice Prince on slow-mo. And we dropped that song, and that song didn't do what it needed to do. And the most like, looking at it now, it's almost like what happened with the Channel O Award, right? So we push, and we pump in everything, and we go to SA and we get the best group in Africa. In the same category as Mikasa, Wizkid and these guys, EME at the time, there were so many big guys at the time. We win that award, and the same very year we were nominated at the ZMAs, and we lost here for the same song that won the best song in Africa. It didn't win anything down here. So if you've been in the industry long enough, I've been in the industry for officially, because they say you're in the industry when the people now know you. But we were in the industry before. We helped structure most of what's going on here in terms of the sound. And I think I can say that because most of the influence that came after Zone Fam came from, like, we introduced something and a lot of people are still riding on it. Before, we used to play on Hip Hop to Rock Your Block. The music that we were doing wasn't playing on any radio station. I was telling Slap the other day to say we actually did some freedom fighter thing, and it's unfortunate that you're in a space where they don't see, because we had to shift the mindset of Zambians from Zambian hip hop at the time just being storytelling to making it so entertaining that when someone is listening to the song, you kind of lock them into that 3 minutes that they forget their problems and they're laughing and they're like, yo, you know, you kind of plug out from the system. And that's what we did. So imagine you win, Kontolola wins the biggest song.
Kontolola was a good song.
And then it comes down here and it loses down here. So those moments for us were just like, what exactly are we doing? And if for us, the structure is we're trying to send Zambian music out there, but our own people, you know, we were really positioned, because at the time, you can't tell me there was nothing. Like, Zone Fam was so big. Even our social media platform at the time was way bigger than most of the artists. We had a fan base, like, that was ready to push. So we do that. We start to see all these things. we get the feature or pato ranking and Ice Prince and we drop it and it doesn't do what it needs to do. And then now we're like, at the time when we dropped the song with pato ranking, we had like big features with other big artists in Africa. And we're thinking, are we going to continue investing? And now when you look at the return on investment, it's just like, is this making business sense?
Stop making business sense.
You get what I mean? It's really just not balancing. And then there's responsibilities now, personal responsibilities, where it's like, as a person, for me, I had lost my mom at the time, and my mother was the pillar of my life. Like she's the only, she was the one that was there. So I lost my mom, and now I'm looking at this thing that I have decided to do. And I'm like, how can I make it work? So because all of us were in sync in terms of it's not making sense, it was just like, I need to make this work because this is the decision. I'm not going back to do IT work. So I had to now look at my responsibilities, look at my wife, look at my sisters, and just look at it and say, I need to make this work. So the decision had to be made just from my end as a person, the same way each and every member of the group decided to make their decision. So I think for now, I'm going to pursue my own thing and try and make it work. Then when it makes sense, we'll get back in the room and see how we can bring it back together.
Okay, just before we take our break, just a clarification. When all of these things were happening, you go and win awards on big international platforms and you don't get anything here. Did this thing frustrate you a lot as a group?
No, honestly speaking, in hindsight now, when I look at everything, it's lessons, lessons, because no one owes you anything. You know what I mean? People decide to play your music if they feel like they need to play it, which is just the nature of life. Life has taught me to say, I don't really need to position myself in a certain way or really expect this person to do this for me. I think when you look at it, we should have really done things different and say, okay, this is the situation, but this is the climate, and we're still going to go out there and still do what we need to do, and eventually they will align. But as a young person, because when all of this stuff was happening, we were in our teen days, So you're looking at this and you're like, do these people understand that everything that we've done is for them? Because Kontolola won. Was best group, but it was because of Kontolola. So Kontolola got nominated for the ZMAs here, and it came. We lost the award, which was just very strange because in most cases, your country should lift you, before the outside world decides to lift you. I mean, things have changed now with time, but that wasn't the case at the time.
Yeah, because ordinarily you'd like to think you start winning awards at home first, and then the international guys pick it up and then you scoop international awards. But the other way around doesn't make sense, even from where I'm sitting.
Yeah. I mean, that was the case with us.
Wow. Great. This is the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. My guest today is Jay Rox. We'll be taking a break. This is the Kenny T One-on-One podcast brought to you by Yato T, Abalea Carpooling, and MTN. Remember, MTN is running that promotion where every 20 seconds someone is winning something. All you need to do to enter is dial *117# or *115# and buy bundles or at least minutes and pay with MTN Momo. My guest today is Jay Rox. Jay Rox, let's now speak about you after Zone Fam.
Yeah.
I know that there's a point in your life that your mom gave you some money to invest in the music business. Yes. Can we speak about that a little bit?
So that was actually before Zone Fam.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happened was I remember going to a studio in Charleston, which was, it was the studio of one of the guys that was producing songs that were big on radio at the time. I won't mention the guy, but if you're watching, I mean, I'm sure you do remember. So I went to this guy's studio and I asked him how much it was going to cost to get a song done. And the guy gave me the amount. And he told me to come through the following day. So I went to the studio. I get there. It's just me and the guy. We're about to start getting the song done. And then established artists at the time, of which I won't mention, come through to the studio. And the guy tells me, can you go outside and wait for me to attend to these guys? So now I'm sitting there. That was around 11, 19, 20. These guys are not getting done with their studio session and I'm just outside. So I go there on the window and I tell the guy, my guy, like
What's
me,
happening?
I've been here, you know, what's
Yeah.
the story? Then he tells me, he said, just wait.
And you had an appointment with him, right?
Yes, I had an appointment. And it was that very moment that put me in a place where it's like, I need to talk to my mom, you know? So I called my mom and I told her, say, listen, I want to buy sound equipment. And then she was like, oh, what's this sound equipment thing, you know? No, I want to start producing my own music. So I need a laptop, I need a mixer, I need a mic, you know, so I can start doing these things. And bear in mind that when I was requesting for this, I had no knowledge on producing or sound engineering. And then she told me, she said, oh, okay, cool. So how much do you want? And at the time I asked for 10 million, which is like 10,000 kwacha. Yeah. So in that 10,000 kwacha, I gave a friend of mine the money. He went to Botswana and he bought me a laptop. I'm sorry. He bought me a laptop. He bought me a Behringer mic. He bought me a 2-channel Behringer mixer that had phantom power.
Yeah.
You know, and I organized to my small speakers.
Monitor speakers
And
for the studio.
yeah, just for the studio. Not really monitor, you know, because monitor speakers, like at the time it was just speakers, but they were doing the thing. You know what I mean? So we get into the space and now I had to lock myself in for like a year. I remember spending a whole year of learning how to make beats, how to mix vocals. So I did some self-teaching. And until to the point where I was good enough and I started producing for Zone Fam. So it was from that experience that I started now producing songs like Chikali, the Mbamas, like most of the Zone Fam songs were produced by me because of that experience.
Great. Let's speak about your solo career after Zone Fam. How easy was it? And what was your plan?
I didn't have a plan, you know, at the time. It was just like, okay, since this, we're not looking like we're moving the way we're supposed to. And I vowed, like, because my mother, you know, before she passed, was like almost like a manager. You know, I had like a lot of conversations that you would have with a friend. And, you know, I would have conversations with her and say, I want to make this thing work, but I just don't know how to get it done. So when she died, I was lost. But then the only thing I had was the fact that I had promised that I was going to see this thing through in whatever form, you know. So I decided to start recording Outside the Rocks 1, that as a way to not get lost in the mourning period. So I spent a lot of time in the studio recording that album. Without also, you know, it was very difficult because now I have to do like most of the work by myself. Because when you're a group, there's always that thing. It's like, I just need to come up with 12 lines, 12 good lines. Then the guys will come through and then maybe we'll figure out the chorus. So now I had to figure out like a whole album that I spent a lot of time recording. I wasn't sure with the sound, but then it also put me in a place to say, I need to introduce myself as Jay away from Zone Fam, but also not take away from the Jay that was a part of Zone Fam. So from the creative space, it was like, oh, there's an element that I never exercised during the Zone Fam days, and that was the reggae side. So I was like, oh, the reggae side is there now. How can I incorporate it into my work? And that's when I started consuming a lot of Daddy Zimas. And I remember one of the first songs I recorded was Ituntulu. And Ituntulu was like a direct bite of Daddy Zimas' style, you know, like how was Daddy Zimas saying things? So I recorded that, I dropped it, and I remember for the first year when I was on the Jay Rox journey, I organized some interviews, radio interviews, and the first things that like DJs never wanted to talk about Jay Rox. They just wanted to talk about Zone Fam. So it's like you're trying to push your agenda, but it's just like, yeah, so Zone Fam. And I'm like, no, but I'm trying to push like, hey, Zone Fam, you know? So it was like very difficult until Ituntulu, you know, did what it needed to do. And then I dropped Autopilot. Autopilot took like over 4 months for it to blow up. Which was, I didn't know what to do with the song because when I released it, there was national mourning and then the radio stations were just not playing the song.
Yeah.
until it just caught fire. And after Autopilot, I dropped Joanna, and then I dropped the album. Now, that album itself, Outside the Rocks one, it was the beginning of just the reintroduction of who Jay is away from the group. So after enduring all these, people not seeing you as an artist away from the group, to the album winning the best album in the country. I won best album that year. And it opened now the gigs for Jay Rox. Like, it really positioned me as one of the top artists. And from that album, like, everything that's been done is just like, how do I build on this? How do I make this work? And I started to find my voice, to a point where now I've dropped like so many albums, and people are able to say, this is Jay Rox. And they'll talk about Zone Fam, but they're not going to say Jay Rox and Zone Fam. It's just like, this is this guy, this is his story, and this is how he, positions his work.
Speaking about, how you go for an interview, and then the person interviewing you just focuses on the wrong thing.
But then it was just one of those where it's like, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you have to endure, because the group was so big that it was also impossible. If you look at the DJs also, it's like, why are we interviewing you if we're not talking about the group? Because the group is what's going to make listeners listen to the show.
That's
so when you look at it from their perspective, it's like it was a much needed thing, a necessary thing for them. But for me, it was just a very difficult climate.
Yeah. And also from that standpoint, it's also very difficult to really isolate the two, even up to now. I think the reason we're speaking about Zone Fam is because,
Yeah, you can't run away from it. You can't run away from it. But the thing is that you create a painting, right? When you become your own artist now and you paint, like, those paintings also have got they've got your DNA, and it's just you. So you can talk about it because it's part of the story. You can't. It's impossible to say I'm not going to talk about it, because it's part of the foundation, right? Yeah. So there's no running away from it. But it's just like, it becomes a bit of a challenge not to see the other work that's been done. And as a person that's interviewing, to choose not to see the other work because your interest is just like, I want to just stick to this. And that's usually the case.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Jay, as a solo artist, I know that you set up a record label. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. It's not really a record label. A lot of people look at it like that because there's literacy that needs to. We need to get in a space where we educate our people in terms of what we're doing in the music space, because anything that looks like it's positioning and managing artists is a record label.
That's what we think.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. But a record label is way bigger, than what headphone music is, right? So headphone music was more centered on, I sat down and I looked at my journey and I was like, oh, there's quite a lot of things that I felt like were just unnecessary things to go through. But it's like, as a father, right? You raise your kids and position them in a way that they don't have to go through some things that you've already gone through. So for me, it was more on trying to manage artists better. But then when I started to identify artists that were in line with what I felt was going to work with my vision, it so happened that the quality of the product itself, the quality of the product wasn't up to standard. So now we had to figure out ways, because then now you can be good, but if the product is not good, how do we now send you out there and position you? So it put me in a place where now, instead of just getting an already done product and positioning it, we had to now start refining the work itself, the artists, to get them in a place where they're ready for the consumers. So which now positioned us now to do some of the work that a normal record label would do. But we were not a record label, but just for the purpose of trying to make sure the artists have got like a good product. So it was more on just getting the artists and letting them understand that this is how you can be positioned. This is what, these are the doors. Like, you have access to some of these doors. Because I think most of the times, like, people that run record labels, they really put the artists in a space where it's like, I'm just going to give you the money. Don't think, go in the studio and work. And they do all the work. Now, that's how record labels work, because they want you to focus on your creative space. But then what happens is that when the record label decides to terminate the contract or the duration is done, you as an artist, you don't know where to start from, because the only thing you understood is to be in the studio, and you don't even know where the radio station is. You know, but what we were doing is, listen, if I'm going to go to Power TV, come with me so that you can build relationships, understand the space, so that tomorrow when Jay Rox is not there and our agreement is not there, you can go to these places, you know the places to go to. So that was the design around Hateful Music. But then when we started getting artists, we discovered that the product wasn't good enough. So now we had to do some of the work that a record label would do to make sure that the product is up to standard.
The song Joanna, who wrote it?
I wrote the song.
Who produced the song?
It was produced by Shinko Beats.
It was a big song.
Yes.
Still is.
Yes. It's a it's a very crazy thing, because Joanna wasn't even going to make it on the album. Yeah, because I went to the studio, Shinko Beats played me the song, the instrumental, but I went to record another song that didn't make the album. You know what I mean? Where you plan for this song, this is the one for the album. I record it, and then Shinko said, when I was leaving, it's like, oh, let me play you something. So he plays it, and I'm like, yo, this is dope. Send it to me. So he sends it to me. I go home, and I'm in the kitchen trying to prepare something to eat. And I play this instrumental, and I'm like, this is good. Then I went back to the studio now to record the song itself. Then it ended up replacing the song that was supposed to be on the album. Yeah.
So Headphone Music, how many artists have you worked with under that brand?
I don't think I can say off the top of my head, like in terms of numbers, but there's quite a lot of artists that we've worked with to, you know, get them to position them and also deliver projects, you know. So we've done work with quite a number of them.
In terms of the Jay Rox brand, have you made some moves to place it on the international stage?
Yes.
Anything we can speak about?
I have spent a lot of money as an artist and as an entrepreneur for the love of my work, which in the past 2 years, I had to really shift into a whole different pocket for the purpose of just making sure that other projects are sorted. Because, you know, music in Zambia is a very crazy space, because we don't have structures. You know, out there, most artists survive off one song because of the structure in terms of royalties. You have one big song, it can sort you out. You got like 2 big endorsements that will sort you out. But here it's like you really need to get a lot of work done. So I traveled to Namibia in the early days of my solo career. I went and shot some videos there, shot 3 videos in Namibia, spent money on that just for the purpose of going international. We managed to set base there. I like to say, go and plant the Zambian flag. You know, that's how we look at it as a team. Yeah. So we went and did that. Then from there, I went to East Africa. So I started with TZ, recorded the first version of Distance featuring the Council, went and spent money in dollars, which was a lot of money to shoot the video. But when we sat down, our vision for the song was big. So when we went and shot the video and we came back and we dropped it and the numbers were not doing what they were supposed to, we knew that we needed to reinvest in the product. So
you shot it in East Africa?
Yeah, I shot the original video in Kenya.
In Kenya, okay.
So we shot it in Kenya. We came back, we dropped it, but it didn't do what it needed to do. So it so happened that at the time when I came back from Kenya, AY was in Zambia. So I met up with AY through VGZ. And then I sent the song to AY and I said, I want to do a remix. So AY played it for Rayvanny. I sent it and AY was Rayvanny. So they played the song. Rayvanny was like, I'm jumping on this. Then now we had to shoot with Diamond's director at the time, was director Kenny. Yes, Kenny. Mm-hmm. So we went, he gave us the bill for the video, which was in dollars. So now we had to fly again to spend a good amount of money on that song. Then when we came back, we discovered to say we need to now spend money in marketing the song. Not just here, but market the song in East Africa. So the amount of money that was spent in that project was quite a lot, but we did get our return on investment in the long run because we had now like big endorsement deals. We managed to get back the money. And from the time we went to Namibia, I think I've worked with quite a lot of African artists.
Any
West
notable
Africa, Major, Kenya, Rayvanny. I've got like three, 4 songs with Rayvanny. I have worked with Rosary. I've worked with AY. I have worked with Orezi from West Africa. I've done songs with Stone Boy as Jay Rox. There's quite a lot. Like I need to look at the list, but I've really done a lot of international work. And it's always been the case with the albums. I always make sure that every album has got, positions the brand in a way that we are still gathering fans outside of Zambia.
I want to ask a question. This question, I don't want you to answer it as Jay Rox, but I want you to answer it as a businessman. This music business in Zambia, is it viable?
As a business guy, it's viable.
From a business standpoint, yeah.
It's viable if you have a brand that's able to make money, because no one is going to invest in your work. Right. So if you build your brand and your brand is nicely positioned, you stand a chance at making a lot of money through endorsements, and from those endorsements and also the shows. If you really build it, it's viable if you position and you really do the work. Now, if you don't do the work, it's a very dangerous space to be in, because then now there's no guarantee that the amount of money you're putting in is coming back. So it's like you're making a business move without a proper plan of recouping the investment. And because most of our artists don't have like financial people that can sit them down, and people that actually have the proper understanding of the environment, the demographic that we're in, the consumers of the work. How do the people think? So if I'm going to get in a space where I need to sell a product, I need to sit down with a marketing person, I need to sit down with a financial advisor and say, if I'm going to invest this amount of money into this, how do we make sure that we get it back? Now, as artists, we are not in a space where we think like that. And that's why they say sometimes get someone that can really look at you from that perspective and can bring in those people to think on your behalf. Now, do we have a lot of that? We don't. So now what happens is that you've got a lot of big songs, but they don't amount to the amount of money that you're making. So it's like, oh, the ministry is so big, but there's nothing in the coffers. And now, because when the brand is so big and people know you, people kind of put a net worth on your brand. So now you have to start positioning yourself according to how big the brand is, with finances and money that you don't have. Now, what that does is that you could actually fake it until you make it. But now if you're going to fake it, get people that can legalize you and make sure that the money is made. Now we've got a lot of faking it without people now that can really position you and make things work for you. So now it's like, for how long are you going to do it? Because eventually people will know to say that's not your car. Eventually people will know to say the money is not the money, because you are constantly interacting with these fans on a daily basis. They can see you. It's not like you're staying in another country, right? You're in Zambia. So tomorrow they'll meet you at the mall. And you've positioned yourself as the person that's doing this or driving this. And they will see what you're going to jump out from. So it's important that the artists really switch and look at it from a business space and get business people, employ actual people. So if you make a certain amount of money from a show or in a month, you total that amount of money and hire actual professionals that do this for a living, marketing for a living, that will advise you in terms of what you need to do. Because we also don't want a situation where when an artist dies, then the stories come out and you can't control them. You can't keep them locked, because at that point, all the information comes out and we discover that there's not so much that was done. So I think it's important as artists to really move away from the bubble. And if you can't be business-minded, get business people to think on your behalf.
And you see, this whole faking it, I see it in other industries as well, just not the music industry, you know. And most of the times, if I get a chance to speak to young people, I tell them that, look, the goal is not to look successful. The goal is to be successful. There's a difference because there's no sustainability in trying to look successful when you're not. You know. Now let's speak about headphone music and upfront media. How are you sort of like balancing these two?
Yeah, so with headphone music, I think right now I have reached a point where we're not getting young, you know? My kids are really growing, and the oldest one is in college.
Wow.
You know, is studying law right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, I'm like, for how long am I doing this? Because now it's like I also need to be a parent and give them the same amount of attention that the artists need. So what we've done is that we don't have a lot of artists under headphone music as of right now. We've got a few. So the work is not a lot of work.
It's not a lot of work.
And the few that we have are in the process of just nurturing what they have. So they have access to the studio. They can record until the product is good enough and we say we can now roll you out. But now the bigger focus for me is the business. Upfront has done quite a lot of work and it's a bit more involving. So you need to be present there, looking at the amount of work that we get done. So that also takes too much of my time now. And other business ventures that I do. So those are the ones that I'm really focusing on. And there's people that are dedicated to just the headphone music stuff. So it doesn't really have to be like Jay Rox is the one that has to put a stamp. The same way with upfront is like you hire people that will do what they need to do. Professionals that will get the work done. So it's not like you have to be really in there hands-on and watching everything and saying, now this is... But every now and then you give like your input and then you move away. So the structure in terms of the business space is not really like a Kantemba type of thing where it's like you need to be there and make it work. So we've got people in place that really know what they're doing and they play their role. So we run the business like that.
Jay, I don't know, a few months ago, I don't know how many months ago, but each time I would meet you anywhere, you'll be with Zar.
Yes.
The last couple of times I've met you, you haven't been with him. Even here, he's not here with you. Yeah. Did you guys have a fallout?
No.
What's the story there?
No. It's not even that. Zah is a good friend of mine. I was actually with Zah, when was that? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know,
He's a good guy.
Yeah, very good guy. We had the link up and we're just catching up. So now what happens is that you see, we're men, you know, and as men, I have a family. You know, Zah has got his own responsibilities. So Zah will have engagements that are Zah's engagements, like a project that will come and it requires Zah to be there. You are not supposed to be a part of, right? I have my own projects, but as friends, we link up, we communicate, we talk. Yeah, what's up? So what's happening? Yeah, so that's the standpoint.
Jay, you're doing something very different, you know, compared to a few other artists that just concentrate on the musical side of things. The film industry, I know that you've been in it for a while. You've been doing a lot of productions, and the reason that people will not know is because usually you're behind the camera, not in front of the camera. How long have you been doing this film? And then what kind of projects can we talk about that you've done in the past?
Yeah, so I've been producing films since 2018.
It's a long time.
Yeah, so this is like, 7 years in. I started with My Father and I, season 1, and season 2. Then I moved to Lusaka Hustle. I don't know if you remember Lusaka Hustle.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so we produced Lusaka Hustle. Then I produced Tuvange Lifestyle season 1 all the way to 5. Then I also produced Mungoma season 1 to season 3. Then I also was contracted to be a producer, but the executive producer was Ray Doe, to do Royal Click. I was producer on Royal Click season 1 and season 2. And now I am co-producing with OAS Ray Mwape in Kondo. So these are the projects that I've done. I've also worked with companies like Airtel from Upfront Space. As Upfront as a business, we've done works with Airtel, done works with MTN. We've done works with quite a number of big organizations.
Interesting. It's very inspiring to, because a lot of people will just see Jay Rox as a guy who's only doing music. But
I mean, it's just simple German,
And these projects you've spoken about, by the way, have been very big projects. They still are.
Yeah.
Because Inkondo also is the one that replaced, is it
Yeah,
Zuba?
it's on the same time slot that Zuba was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's that going?
It's going well. It's going well. I think we're pushing. We've started off very well, in terms of making sure that we meet the deliverables and everything. We're really in there trying to figure out also how we can better it. So it's been quite the experience.
You had Leo under Upfront Media.
Yes.
And after whatever happened, did you decide to cut ties? Or
No.
How did you resolve that?
So you see, the thing with Leo is when all of that was happening, of which, I can't really give a lot of details because everything happened in court.
Yeah.
We did have conversations with him. As a business, we had a contract with him for the duration of the work that we're doing. And after the duration was done, we did maintain, we would have conversations and all of that stuff. But like I said, it's business, because Leo was on Inkondo and he also had a talent agreement that ended up expiring at some point. You continue, you speak, because it's a Ubuntu space, so you check up how are things moving and all of that. So it's not really, for me, like the whole thing of ties and friendships. I think it's important to understand that the world, it moves at the same pace and there's so much going on. Everyone has got a lot of stuff happening, The only people that you are indebted to, in terms of you need to make sure that you are there for, are your kids, because you're nurturing them to be a part of society.
Absolutely.
So those are people that you constantly have to be there for, to make sure that they're really going to add to society. And as a people, we also need to be able to identify those things and be able to know when you're switching gears, right? So it's like, if I'm waking up today, I've got a responsibility as Jay to do my work as a business person. So I'm going to attend to that. And if I've got something I need to attend to from a friend space, I will attend to that from a friend space, right? So it's I think for me, the one thing that the concept that I live by is understanding the pockets and the boundaries and the space that you're in. We're doing this until the space, when it's done, it's done. So now we're moving on to the next thing. You get what I mean? So it's not necessarily an issue of, because when this was happening, then we cut off. Like, I speak to Leo. I've met Leo during the whole lot of the process of everything. We've had conversations and it's the same energy. Unless if there's something I'm not picking up from some of the people that you've spoken about, something that that will be like new information, then I'll get the information as, oh, snap, I didn't understand that that's the perspective. But from my end, it's good blood all the way.
I think for me, my question is just as is.
Yeah,
There's absolutely nothing. Yeah. But let's speak about the shoe brand that you started. You called it what? Prestige Hunter?
Prestige Hunter.
How did we do with that?
Yeah, so I remember this one day I went home and our oldest son, he told me to say he wanted to do a clothing brand, and he called it Prestige Hunter. So I was like, oh, this is cool, but at the time it was still at DK. Yeah, he was still at DK. And then, so I was like, but how are you going to run this business? Because you don't, what's your understanding of this? So we started having the conversations and I asked him to say, are you able to create templates of what you want to do, ideas? Let me see. So then when he showed me the ideas, I was like, I want to buy into the business itself. If I can be one of the directors, I get some shares in this, then we can try and make it work. Because then he was like, I need some money to try and pump into this business. And I looked at it and I was like, how many people are doing t-shirts today? How many people are doing, these things are out there. Anyone can buy a printer and print something and take it out there and they can sell it, right? So what's going to make your product different from what everyone else is doing? Yeah. That's how it so happened that at the time that was happening, there was a conversation that I had with Lulu, and she was working with I don't want to mess up the name. I don't remember the actual name of the company. But we started having conversations, and Lulu was like, oh, there's possibilities. We could actually do this. So then went to my son and I said, listen, what we're going to do is that we're going to do a limited edition of a sneaker line, and we'll jumpstart the business using the sneaker line. So there's something that's different. Then we put together how much this was going to cost. And that's how, I decided to jumpstart it for him. And bear in mind, when all of that stuff was happening, the reason why I spoke to him about the possibility of a buy-in into the business is because I didn't want him to look at it as just you can get the money and do whatever. I wanted him to look at it from a business space. So after the sneakers came through and we put them on the market, and there was a bit of buzz around that, I handed over everything to him because at the time he was even older. And I said, listen, this is what we're going to do. This is your clothing line, and I've set it up for you. We'll use the Jay Rox brand because it's got the numbers. So if we say this is the first edition of the sneaker line is the Rox edition, we'll tap into the Jay Rox fan base to sell these products, and then people will know about the brand, and then afterwards you can now decide what you want to do with it. Yeah. Of which was the case. So we got the sneakers in with Zambia is a very interesting space from I'll speak from a business space. I don't want to blame the consumers because most of this falls on us as the people that are selling the products, because sometimes we don't really do the work to make sure that the product is nicely positioned. So we did what we could. We had a limited edition of 100 pair of shoes that we sold. All of them were sold. It wasn't within the duration that we thought we were going to sell, but it started to catch fire with time. So if you follow the story of Beats by Dre and how they ended up, with that deal, and how they pushed and got the industry players to be a part of to push it, you get to understand, so the mindset from a business space is very different. We have a long way before we start to understand business the way the Western world looks at business. And these for me are they were learning, you learn with every experience. So I set up the business for him, and from that point he's done he does a limited edition of things. So if he's going to do head socks, he's going to do a limited edition of a certain number, and he sells. So the whole concept is prestige. It's not a mass. We're not doing mass production. It's just for specific people that have a specific taste. So he will create the product, make sure it's of quality, and he sells just to that number. So just if it's 50 people, it's just those 50 people that will have that product, but it has to be designed to proper standard. So that's the concept around the business. And he's been running it. Now he's doing a second year in uni, and it just comes to tell me, this is the business plan. This is what I'm trying to do. And I'm like, oh, run it, because now you're learning what needs to be done, the do's and don'ts in a business space.
I want to do something different and, wind up on, family and marriage.
Yeah.
How did you meet your wife?
Weird experience.
She's a creative as well,
yes,
right?
Yes. So my wife has been doing fashion for a long time. So I remember she had hired performance services, and the performance was done. But she didn't pay. She did a fashion show, and she didn't pay for the performance. She booked, and then she was like, "No, you can get your money after the show." And then after the show, it's like, "Where's the money?" She's like, "No, maybe come and pick it up tomorrow." Then the following day, I get in touch with her. I was like, "What's the story with the money?" She's like, "No, come and pick it up the day after." And I was like, I was vexed. I'm like, "No, my guy, what's this now?" And when I went for the show, I looked at her. I'm like, "This is a beautiful girl, So it's like you're looking at her, and like, but then there's business. The business side needs to be done. So 2 days into her not giving me the money, and I called her. I said, "Let's go to the ATM. We get this money." So I went with her and stood by the ATM machine. I'm like, "You give me the money." And she gave me the money. She wasn't happy because she felt like it was a little bit more hostile. The push was a bit, so I could tell she was a bit touched. But I'm like, "But this is a beautiful girl." You know what I mean? In the back of my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, but we'll deal with that after we get the rack, So we got the money.
Business first.
Yes. And then afterwards, I think a week after, I was chilling at a friend's place. There was a friend of mine used to run a business, like a place where people used to come and hang out.
Yeah.
And she walked in, and I was with my friend, and I was like, that's the one. So now I couldn't go and talk to her. So I sent my friend, I'm like, hey, bruh, just let her know that I'm here and I would like to have a conversation with her, because I didn't know how she was going to react after the whole money thing. So she came through. We had a conversation. We cleared out the money thing.
What did you say?
I just told her to say, the intention wasn't to come out like but then it's like it just felt some type of way. You know what I mean? Then she's like, no, but that I was having issues with this. Then it was a bit okay.
Yeah.
Like things felt a bit. So we chilled for a bit, and then she left. And then afterwards, it was now the pursue now. Like it was now like I need to get this person. So I started now. I really worked. I worked until this one time. Like I would have conversations with her on BBM, and she won't respond. Like I'll send messages and she'll say, okay, oh yeah. Or she will respond and then she'll come back after a week. Then after I nudge, then she responds. I'm like, I can't do this. Then this one time she had an issue with a technical thing, IT thing.
Mm-hmm. And you're the IT guy.
And I was the IT guy. So I went to her house and I looked at the issue. I'm like, this issue is small, but I made it big, just as a proper, the way professionals are like. It's like, I want, because now that you have me and I'm in this space, I want to buy as much time
as possible
so I can interact with you.
Yeah.
So now I made like a small thing become big. Now I'm like, this thing, so what we need to do. And I was just typing on the laptop to look busy, this thing, so what's happening. And I stayed there most of the day, but I had like a conversation with her and I could tell like, oh, she's seeing the different side of Jay. Then after that, we had like another link up. Then I was like, the interest was there from my end, and I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere. So it was a process, but after that, things really sat in and we started doing things together,
Nice. Well done. So how many kids do you have?
Got 5 kids.
How many boys, girls?
3 boys, 2 girls. Yeah.
Nice. Well done. I think I've seen. I think I've seen the girls.
Yeah, no, even the boys. Even the boys are there, like on some of the videos that we do.
Great. So Jay, as we wrap up, I know that you have a child in university. Every now and then we've spoken about it. We've spoken about, his business side of things and all of that. Can we just quickly speak about the property, the investment? Why I want to speak about this is that this conversation is about inspiration. I'm hoping that someone can draw some inspiration from what is going on.
Yeah.
We're not showing off. We're just sharing what is there and hoping that somebody can learn something. I know that you've bought some properties for all your kids or some of your kids.
We shall not say anything, but I would share with you the concept, right? So when my mother was around, she took every opportunity to let us know, to say the property she got was her property, and when the time comes, we have to add. It's my responsibility as her child to add at least one. For the purpose of the kids I'm going to have. Because also looking at the way the struggles, so it's something that we took upon us with my wife to try and see how we can. You've got no control over what's going to happen and how your kids decide to do with what you leave. But you also have the responsibility as a parent to do what you can to make sure that they're set up, right? So it's been the first property that we worked on was 2015. That's the first time that we started doing work, and half of it was part of just the setup that my mom had left for us. But then we also had the other half to make sure that we make sense out of it. So now we had to work. I remember at some point I was doing shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And when I say shows, I'm meaning Kabwe, 20 hours, Ndola, midnight, family show the following day. just so we can get that property done. And we managed to get the property done off just the music. And at the time, if you look at the money that Jay Rox was making at the time and what Jay Rox will make today, was very different from a musical space, right? But we managed to get it done. And after that, it's just been like, what can we do to do what we can to make sure that these kids tomorrow, they don't have a place, or just they don't look at this, not necessarily, because I mean, they're their own people. When they grow up, they decide what they need to do. Unless you decide to open a trust and lock everything and make sure that their decision making is very much controlled, of which Africans need to start doing a bit more, because sometimes we don't teach, our kids don't understand the amount of work that you do. So when you're no more and they have control over the business, they do not understand the business because we don't teach them. We don't show them what we need to do for them to safeguard what you've created. So, I mean, I think trust is a possibility for a lot of African parents. I think they should look into that. But the whole idea for me, it wasn't necessarily to leave property and say, oh, I'm doing this property so you can have it, it's yours. Because you also need to talk to the kids and let them know that it's my property. And we'll see if it's going to be your property, right? More than anything, it's the lesson for them to see that if my parents can add one on top of what their parents did, I can also add one, bare minimum. Come and
because
add
I mean,
one.
if you're going to add one in 2020 or 2021, it means that in their time they need to add at least 2 or 3, like
That's
you
the
say,
thing.
bare minimum.
But bare minimum, if they add one each, I mean, that's how you create generational wealth. That's how you hear they own most of Lusaka. It's not necessarily an issue of just getting what your parents did and you marry and you stay in that property, but it's trying to see how you can use the same concept to add on top. So for me, like in terms of like, I don't like to speak about these things, but I also just like to get people to understand, to say there's power in, there's these memes on social media where it's like, oh, if the money can't buy land, drink it. If it's 2,000, drink it. And I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, but then if you look at the bags of cement that the 2,000 can do, because the bags of cement will push you towards wanting to buy blocks. Because then if you put the bags of cement, you know the rain season is coming. So your saving needs to be better. Otherwise, you waste money, right? So there's need to really shift the mindset. And I tell people to say some of the stuff that we've been able to do has been like, from this, it's like the principle and discipline of, this is what we have to do now. And from this, 1% has to go towards this. Whether we are suffering, but the 1% has to go towards this. And that's how we've been able to get in a space where we're doing something. I think we have a long way to go. But I would like to think for someone my age and the type of work that we've had to do, I think we've done well within our age group. And also, Madame, like having a partner that's really sitting and moving with you, it's been a blessing. We've really sat down and tried to do better than our parents at our ages, you know, and we're trying to see how we can really push the envelope for as long as we wake up and we breathe, you know.
In 30 seconds, Jay, how's the content creation going on for online? I mean, with a family?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You know, sometimes my youngest daughter will come and say, are we shooting? I'm like, shooting what? Like, baby, I'm tired. She's like, no, but like, we need to get it done. Because now it's like a normal thing, you know? It's for me now, more than, like when we started, we understood that things really shifted in the social media space. So as a business person, as a creative, you constantly need to adapt. When things change, you adapt, but not lose yourself. So we had to adapt, and we noticed it's like you have a small little TV channel. So what do we do with this? Are we going to just put negativity there and, you know, and ride like this? Or we're going to create something that will spark conversations, but also because we also need healing. We've got a lot of things, unresolved things. So now how do we approach the unresolved things without it feeling like I'm coming to attack you? And how do we also open a conversation in a household where those conversations are an abomination, because there's a lot of tension. So we can't talk about who picked up the cup and left it there. But then we also understood how people viewed us. There's this perception that people look at you and they think you're so perfect. So they don't expect you to relate with them, to go through some of the things that you go through. So we had to really approach it in a space like, we need to show these people that we're humans. We struggle. It's the same things. We're brought up the same way. And when we started getting it done, it felt like it's a lot of work. But now for me, it's like some videos, when we shoot the content, it puts me and Madame to get in a space where we're talking about something that we've been putting under the rug. You know, because now it's like, but this thing, do you remember that thing that happened? I think this is similar. I think we need to. So it's opened conversations and really brought us in a space where we're looking at things differently. And it brings you closer. Because then now, sometimes life can get busy, but you've got that moment to interact with the kids. An intentional time, creating intentional moments, using the creating of the content to be closer to them and find out what's really going on with them.
Great. Jay, as we wind up, our previous guest was Shimumbi. So what we do is that a guest picks a question for the next guest. You will have the opportunity to do it as well, to pick a question for the next guest. But Shimumbi left a question for you. The question reads, what's one decision you've made that completely changed the direction of your life?
One decision that I made that completely changed the direction of my life is settling down with my wife.
She's the one.
Yeah, she really got rid of the boy, the reckless guy that was just like, I'm living in the moment.
Yeah.
She really put me in a space where it's like I needed to start looking at life from a different space. That decision is a decision I'll make again, you know, because I've seen the fruits that come with that. Away from even just like, you know, even what the Bible says about, you know, being in that space. When you find a wife, you find a good thing. Like when you read it and you experience it, the experiences really make that Bible verse really mean something, because then now you start to see yourself and the growth and the decision making and where you're at as a person. I think for me, that was the decision.
So Jay, you have an opportunity to ask our next guest a question. Yeah. So I've got 3 questions. 1, 2, 3. So to each number, there's a question attached to it.
Yeah.
Which number are you picking?
Number 2.
Okay. Question 2 reads, how are you in small ways contributing to better society? So this is a question for our next guest.
Okay.
And if it is the guest I'm thinking we're going to have, this is a very appropriate question. Really quickly, I didn't even ask, do you drink? Do you smoke? The name Jay Rox, how did you come up with it?
I mean,
then we close.
I get like this thing where a lot of people stereotype. When you travel, you just enter a place, people start preparing things. Like, what's... Like, what do you mean? No, as a German, they even change. Hi, Ray, Wagwan Ras, Wagwan. I'm like, hey, okay. I do have a drink every now and then, you know.
What's your favorite drink?
I have gin.
Okay.
You know, I have gin with cranberry juice.
Okay.
Every now and then. I'm not like wake up, gotta get in there, gotta, you know, like I need it. It's just one of those, like every now and then, you get it done. The other side, no, we shall not comment.
Okay. and we respect that.
Yeah.
The name Jay Rox, really quickly, how did you come up with it? Does it stand for anything?
Yeah, so before it was Jack the Ripper, you know, during the rap days.
Oh,
like,
really?
I'm like, Then I'm like, how do you do a love song? And then the radio DJ is like, oh, so that was a brand new song called I Love You by Jack the Ripper. It's like, it's just not making sense.
Yeah.
So now I had to get like, from Jackson, I got Jay. And then Rox, just like Jay Rox, right? Then I'm like, but Rox, just as Rox is like, let's just get the Rox and remove the C, the C, the K, and the S, and then put the X there. So when I put this name together in the early days, I'm like, this is so corny. Like, this is a cheesy name. How are people going to pronounce this the right way? But then people are good and used, you know? Yeah. So that's where, you know, the combination comes from.
Jay, thanks a lot for making time. Thanks a lot for trusting us with your story. It's been a real inspiring conversation. Thanks
a lot for having me.
Great. This has been the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, Yatu Tea, Abalea Carpooling. Remember to download that app. for Abalea carpooling and find out how exactly you can save some money on your transportation and movements, right? Thanks to MTN, everywhere you go, MTN is currently running a promotion. Every 20 seconds, someone is winning something. There's also a trip to Dubai. So make sure that you subscribe and be part of it. My name is Kenny T. I'm back again next week, same place, same space.